Ladies and gentlemen, congratulations. We have done it. We did it. Oh man, today was just, I was having such a good day today. It was one of those days where it's like, you know what? I got a pep in my step. I'm feeling peaceful. I'm feeling joyful. Nothing could ruin my day. And then I see this, and it just adds on to it. I went from having a good day to a great day. It is so amazing to see this. It really is. And I kind of want to go into a further, more in-depth analysis on these anti-tunnel, anti-slug stuff, right? Because in theory, it isn't that bad, right? But the problem is they went like full force with this update to the point where the majority of killers, including myself, were basically saying, if this update hits live servers, I'm done playing Dead by Daylight. Like it's just not happening. Or if I do play it, I'm gonna be a survivor main, right? Because it's ridiculous. But let's look at some of these comments. So the sluggers can stop panicking and continue calling themselves good at the game for a while longer. You have no idea what the problem with what this patch was. Are we throwing out the bonuses for unique cooking too? You see, this is a good question. It really that's funny. Yet again, the crying killers win. What are you talking about? Since when do we win? What? We haven't won in a long time. This isn't even a win. This is just keeping the game stable. Like a win. What are you talking about, man? I'm disappointed in you guys. Unless you bring it back with some slight adjustments, you're just letting the tunneling meta win out. Well, the problem is tunneling was never a meta to begin with. It really isn't. Unless you're playing in a game with someone who is brand new as a killer, you're not going to get tunneled. Or if you're being intentionally obnoxious and being intentionally a bully survivor, then you'll be tunneled out. But again, like, why are you complaining about tunneling if you're playing like a twerp, it, you know, that's basically tit for tat, you know what I mean? It makes no sense. So you dropped another half-baked idea and got cooked for it, and now you're shelving it until you can figure out how to ruin balance in a different way. Perfect. Yeah. Uh That's funny. But yeah, you can see for some reason, like, I don't know if it's just Twitter, but on Reddit, the majority of posts are, complimenting the fact that this isn't coming to the game. But on Twitter, it seems to be almost 50-50, or X, I suppose you could call it, which I guess makes sense because a lot of people on Twitter are pretty stupid, and that's why almost no one or everyone who does use it says not to. Alrighty, back again. Now, before I end the video, I'm just going to give my brief thoughts on how these changes could actually exist in the game, but not completely destroy it, right? I do think it's a good thing to reward killers for getting unique hooks and not tunneling, even though at the MMR I'm at, it's never been an issue. I don't tunnel people out of the game, If you watched my most recent video, which odds are you probably have, thank you for the support, by the way. It's crazy, but in that video, there was a point where I said, um, I have 4 hooks and the Claudette, she's on Death Hook, right? I think I had 5 actually, but I didn't know if hooking her and sacrificing her would count as tunneling, even though she didn't have the tunnel mark next to her, right? So I didn't. But in a normal game of DBD, like if I was playing Ghostface, I would get her out of the game, right? She's on Death Hook, and I see her. Even if she is healthy, she needs to go, right? That's my job as a killer. It's to kill, right? To sacrifice, and you can't do that with the current, well, the was to be update, right? So right here. Let's do the unhook protection. We need to get rid of kill. We need to get rid of immunity to killer instinct. I don't understand why this was even given, because I mean the last thing a survivor is going to do is run to the corner of the map and do absolutely nothing for 30 seconds. That just doesn't make any sense. I don't know why that's even there. Um, why don't we reduce the reveal killer aura to maybe 24 meters, right? Or 20 meters. 32 is ridiculous. I mean, that's basically a UAV at that point for Survivor anyway. Um, I would reduce this to maybe 15 seconds, so it is still a buff technically, but survivors can't abuse the extremely long duration and body block the killer for as long. Let's see. I'm fine with this. I mean, it's only 3 seconds. It's whatever. Uh, this is still good. I'd keep that. This is good. Yeah, right here. The survivor is still, yeah, that's still good too. So really, just get rid of the immunity to killer instinct and immunity to AFK crows. Reduce the killer reveal by about a, a little under half, and then reduce the overall duration by half. I think that's pretty fair. It's a better buff than what we have right now in game, because right now when you get unhooked, you have endurance for 8 seconds and haste for 8 seconds, and if this was cut in half, you'd have it for 15, which in my opinion really isn't that bad. All right, hook status. I I feel like this would be this whole change in general. When a survivor is hooked, the hook status. I think this change right here would be really good for S tier killers like Blight or Nurse or the Ghoul, right? Because they have extremely high mobility, and this would actually prevent them from just flying right back to the hook and downing the survivor and throwing them back up, right? Even though that doesn't happen that often, still, I think that would be fair. Other killers like Ghostface and stuff, they literally thrive off of chokehold points, They thrive off of being able to stalk their victims. If someone gets an unhook and I'm like 24 meters away, leaning from behind a bush, I'm not going to stalk the person who just got off the hook and go for them. I'm going to stalk the person who's doing the unhook action, right? It's just a smart way to play. Basically trading hooks. Now, of course, I'm not going to do that the whole match, because if I do, then all the gens will fly by and everyone will ultimately escape. But it is a valid strategy to do once or twice per game, you know. And I don't think you should be punished for that. It's a one or two time thing, and it doesn't happen every game. When a survivor is unhooked, there's no loud noise notification. The hook status. I think this is good right here, but I don't really. This doesn't really make sense to me personally. Like, it would go good with the S tier killer stuff right here, but I think this is more than enough, because most killers aren't going to be paying attention really, and I think having the gold hook aura just silently go away, I think that's a good enough protection. These effects are disabled when all generators are completed. Hey, fine by me. Now, here is the big one. These are the bonuses you get for hooking a unique survivor. So, in other words, hooking a survivor who you haven't been tunneling, right? Let's see. 20% bonus to the next generator kick action. Why don't they just reduce this to 10% for the S tier killers and keep it 20? Well, you have to understand too. This isn't 20% guaranteed damage. It's 20% bonus to the damage that you do to the generator. So, for instance, if I kick a generator after hooking someone and the generator has like a 50% progress, I would be dealing like maybe maybe 10 or 12% damage. I don't know the exact numbers off my head. It wouldn't be too much of a difference, but if I kick a generator that's 99% and I have this bonus, it would deal about 25% damage, right? 24, 25, something like that. These are just rough numbers, but I did notice this on the PTB. So I think killers like Nurse and stuff, they should automatically have this be lower. So that way, the gen regression perks that are in the game right now, such as Pain Resonance, they won't need to be gutted for no reason. The 10% haste for 15 seconds. I think the haste should actually be buffed for M1 killers. So instead of 10% haste for 15 seconds for you know, let's say Trapper or Ghostface, make it either 15% or 20%. However, less duration. So for Trapper specifically, he would like hypothetically after hooking a unique survivor, he would get 20% bonus for the next damage action on a generator, right? And he would get 20% haste, but only for 3 to 5 seconds. Let's just say 5 seconds, right? 5 seconds would be better. This would allow him to move even quicker to the generator he wants to complete because ultimately the biggest problem with these older killers is the lack of mobility, right? And because they can't move fast, they ultimately have a much harder time applying pressure. So buffing this haste for older killers would be a much better thing in my personal opinion. Breaking a pallet or damaging a survivor removes the haste. Eh, I mean, it's just I could see breaking the pallet, but a survivor, it really just again depends on the killer. If they want to apply this to every killer equally, they're really gonna have to um, ask some of the better mains of said killer for their, actual experiences and opinions because, like I said in my last video, not all killers are created equal. So some of this right here, it's not going to help. Reveal all survivors outside of 40 meters that have less than or equal hook states for 4 seconds. This by itself isn't really that big of a deal because it doesn't reveal all survivors. It reveals survivors that have less than or equal hook states for 4 seconds. So that means, let's say you have 3 survivors who are on death hook. When you throw that third survivor up there, you're only going to see the aura of the one survivor you haven't hooked yet. So I personally think this is fine. Maybe reduce it to 30 meters because 40, that's I don't know. That seems a little too generous for the survivors, but or survivor, and like I just said, you could end up only seeing one, but for killers like Nurse and stuff, I think 40 meters is good. These effects can only be gained when the killer performs the hook interaction themselves. Yep. These changes are good. They should really just stay the same. Yeah, that's fine. Effects are all disabled when generators are completed. That's fine with me. Tunneling penalties when a survivor dies to hook action or Mori. You see, I don't mind this idea. In practice, it's horrible. What they should do, in my humble opinion, is take that 6 and bring it down to a 4. And the reason why is I believe that after you've hooked 4 survivors, so let's say you hook every survivor once or 2 survivors twice, at that point it should just be fair game because after 4 hooks, usually 2 or 3 generators are done, and I think that 4 total hook states would be more than enough to prevent tunneling someone right out of the gate out of the game. You know what I mean? When a survivor that was previously hooked is killed or sacrificed, the killer this okay, this maybe the killer could receive some kind of penalty like they can't block or damage generators for 30 seconds. That would allow the survivors to get at least one generator done, right? But for the entire game, that's just way too harsh, man. It's way too harsh, especially with the current 6 total hook states, right? and they absolutely massacred barbecue all of these perks. Really, they destroyed all of them. Pop is okay, but I honestly think all of them should be reverted back to what they were. Eruption was already pretty bad. Pop was extremely situational. Scourge Hook was meta, and they ripped it to shreds. But as for these perks, Babysitter, Borrowed Time, Off the Record, whatever. I don't really see Off the Record that much for it to be too much of a problem. And the slugging recovery, this is a very quick, very easy fix. Maybe reduce the amount of time it takes for the bar to fill by 20 seconds, 20 or 30 seconds. Because 60 seconds, that's still a long time. That's a full generator, assuming one person's working on it without any speed ups, right? That's quite a while for someone to be on the ground. And remove this. Make it so the progress has to reset between downs. Yep, picking themselves up after fully recovering is fine. I mean, they can keep this if they want. That's whatever. Um, let's see here. Get rid of base kit tenacity. I think we should just make the crawling speed overall faster. Get rid of tenacity. It's just not needed. It's all that allows survivors to do is bully killers. That's it. With flip flop and power struggle. That's it. Recovery being automatic is just lazy. It's a super lazy change. Survivors don't need the game to play itself for them. Added a new. Get rid of this. I'm so sick and tired of survivors literally rage quitting and still getting rewards for it. All because they've been in two chases and they get down twice, and oh, there's another survivor nearby with a flashlight. I'm gonna go get them. Then by the time you get back, they're healed off of the ground and you down them again, and then they rage quit. It's this sounds like a niche scenario, but when you play primarily as stealth killers, you'd be surprised how often this happens. Survivors actually rage quit because you leave them on the ground for like 20 to 30 seconds because you're going to chase the person who's trying to go for the flashlight save, right? You're trying to chase them away and secure a hook. It's common sense, right? But apparently they don't like that, and that's just too much of a problem. Boo-hoo, Crimea River, really. Let's see. These perks, plot twist. Apparently that got buffed. I don't really care about these perks, to be honest. Like Deerstalker and A Nurse's Calling, they're kind of niche. Pallet density. Let's see here. Haddonfield, that needs to have more pallets, absolutely. And that's, I don't know. I think Haddonfield is by far the number one realm in the game that needs more pallets because there are really only 10 good pallets on that map, and once they're gone forever. So I don't know about the rest of these maps. Yamoka has a few good spots, but on the PTB, Yamoka, literally every 5 feet there's a pallet, and it's not healthy. Ormond has quite a few pallets as of right now, so I don't think that's that big of a problem. As for the killer reworks, I think the killer reworks are fine. I know a lot of people don't like the Myers rework, but I think it's kind of cool. But then again, I am someone who likes Rob Zombie's Halloween, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about these changes and my proposed solutions slash reworks for them. If you guys liked the video, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. If you didn't, drop a dislike. But regardless, I will see you all in the next one. Peace.